Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Talk Interesting podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today we'll be talking about how to communicate effectively for daily life, which is pretty interesting to me. I am a communication major in college, and I think this is invaluable for daily life and meeting new people and things like that. So I got my information sources from these two beautiful gentlemen right here. We got Jak Piggott, which is an Australian YouTuber who dabbles in making videos of how to effectively communicate and improve your communication skills. And then we got Marcus Alexander Vasquez, which did a TED Talk about how to communicate more effectively and the difference between communication and effective communication. We'll be talking about that more, but the definition of communication, according to Vasquez, is the delivery of information. And effective communication is defined as when information is received and understood by the audience. So, how do competent communicators actually prove to be effective in daily life? So, they do earn more money, that is a fact. The heart of business, when you think about it, for businesses anywhere in the world, is effective communicators, because you'd want to make sure that what you're saying holds value and is actually understood by your peers and clients so they can present their cases more confidently, which makes sense because being confident is a huge part in being an effective communicator, and they know how to handle objections, which what that basically means is they know how to minimize their emotions to get their point across or to try to politely end a deal with a client. They have conversations that hold value, which I find myself a lot, honestly, just talking about things that have I have no idea what I'm talking about sometimes. Like it's just because either I'm not interested and I'm just talking to talk, or my not my unvaluable conversations just lead to nowhere. Like, you need to have conversations with people, especially new people that you meet, that hold some type of value, because chances are they will be impressed by your skills and they'd want to have maybe another valuable conversation with you. And they also know how to negotiate better. And again, that is a really big part in business. You want people who actually understand the ways of negotiations, and that is a really big part of effective communication, because then you can earn more money if you negotiate more. Then yeah, chances are you will be liked by your boss a whole lot better if you get a good deal going on a negotiation. So people are attracted to effective communicators, and this makes a lot of sense to me because you'd want to talk to someone that knows how to hold value in a conversation, and that can eliminate anxiety and fear of judgment, which again, minimizing emotions, that's a really big one. You don't want to be thinking about how other people are seeing you. You just need to go with it. And that's really hard for a lot of people. It's hard for me, honestly. Um, I feel like even when I like slip up my words or something, that people are going to judge me, which they probably are, but that really doesn't matter in the slightest. And they also know how to express themselves clearly. This is a really big part about effective communication. You need to explain what you're saying clearly so that that information can be received by your counterpart and actually understood, and they can take it in and think about that information for themselves. Confidence is a really big part as well. You need to be confident. Um, you need to speak with confidence. You need to have your tone to be more confident and be able to manipulate your tone based off of who your audience is and where you are, and they connect with people for interest and not validation, which is key because I really like to talk to people that I'm interested in, like talk about their lives, like especially if they come from a really different background. I'm pretty interested in geography and just like where people come from in general because I'm from America. And when I would be more interested in talking to someone, for example, from like Colombia or something, like South America, than someone who was born in like Minnesota and now lives in like Iowa or something. Like, just for me, I would be very interested in talking to them and not trying to like validate myself. That's a really big part. Being able to connect with people for interest, not validation. So, specifically, how to increase your communication skills. And I got these notes from Jak Piggott, which I will link his channel and the video I got it from below. So, he said to read more books, which increases vocabulary. And this makes a lot of sense, actually. I'm not that big of a book reader. I mean, I'll do it if I'm like actually interested in the book or for if it's like for class or something. But I don't really read a lot of books in my spare time. But I really should more. That's something I could work on. Increasing my vocabulary, essentially, being able to articulate yourself in multiple ways is very valuable to increase your communication skills. And something interesting he says was to rehearse what you read in your mind, which I've never heard anyone say that before. Like rehearse what you read in your mind. Like that's I don't know. Like that makes sense, especially if you read fiction books, which he said, because you can actually get a sense of what the characters are thinking if you're reading a book by a good author that actually knows how to write. But that makes a lot of sense to me, rehearsing what you read in your mind. And then improving physical appearance. I mean, I would think that that's common knowledge, but like I'm not going to I would be more inclined to talk to someone who I guess looked like regular like this, I don't know. This is a little over the top personally. This is like for interview doing an interview or something, and this lady is just, I mean, she could walk around town like that, I guess, on a warm day, but you don't have to dress like this all the time. Like I'm not even dressed like this. I'm just wearing a flannel, but just trying to look presentable when you're speaking to someone or a whole audience, that is pretty key. And speaking of speaking to audiences, I like to think about communication is like an art form essentially, and Vasquez said this also. Communication, being effective in it, is pretty much like an art form, which is like comedy also. I'm a big fan of comedy. I really like it. And effective communication, honestly, is about being in the zone and adjusting when necessary, which comedians are really good at, really good comedians. And two comedians that I really like are um, so Andrew Schultz and Jimmy Carr. But I mean, beyond like the comedy factor of these two, they are really effective at communicating. So, expressing information confidently leads to a lot of benefits. You can get a lot of job opportunities, you can meet a lot of new people, make new friends. So, again, take comedy, for example. The comedian is on stage capturing the audience's attention through words, hand motions, and body language, which Alexander Vasquez really talked about how hand gestures and body language are key in this, and how the comedians are on stage capturing the audience's attention through words, hand motions, and body language. And Some comedians are really good at this. There's a lot of them, a lot of really good ones, but in specific are Jimmy Carr and Andrew Schultz. So they're both really, really different in their approaches. And like I said before, there's many, many ways to effectively communicate. People like to do it not just in one way, but in many ways that fit the needs of the audience as they're able to articulate themselves and do it effectively. Again, receiving and understanding the information. If someone is able to relay information to you, you receive it, you take it in, and you actually understand it, then chances are they're doing a great job at effectively communicating. So yeah, these two are very different in their approaches, but they're both pretty good. They're both pretty funny. And Jimmy, this is Jimmy Carr. He is generally more surgical in his art form. He's a roaster, and he often stands still and leans into his quick, witty persona. He's able to roast people and make up jokes on the spot. And so minimizing his movement is key in his stand up. So minimizing his movement allows the audience to basically focus on the precision of his jokes. And his eye contact is key as he almost forces the audience to pay attention to him. Like in this picture, he's like giving me the death stare. Like his eyes are cold right now, but I mean, he's really good at what he does. He's a roaster. He essentially listens to when hecklers start flinging jokes at him or something. He just listens and then he just destroys them with his keen eye contact, just staring into their soul, surgically picking them apart, and then ending off with a bang. Just a true hard roast. He's really good at what he does. But on the other side, Andrew Schultz is very different than Jimmy Carr. He is he is essentially an immersive storyteller, and he tells stories on stage and really brings the audience in, and he treats it more like a hangout, like kind of like just a conversation between friends, which his body language implies too, which is pretty cool. And he has a high energy style. And with his use of hand gestures, he essentially conducts the room's energy. He's really good at doing that, bringing in the audience, telling them a story, and then they leave with remembrance of it, some form of like picturing themselves in his position. He's really good at doing that. And unlike Jimmy's seemingly unmovable body language, Schultz essentially uses his whole body to lean into his storytelling. He This helps keep the audience engaged and in anticipation for what he'll say next. So I really, really like a good story, as everyone else does. But when you're able to tell one on stage in front of thousands of fans and get them to receive that information, take it in, and is able to think about it for themselves and actually understand what he's saying, that's an art form. I would say that's an art form 100%. So, yeah, this has been the first Talk Dressing podcast, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And I will put links to Jak and Vasquez's channels in the description and links to their videos. So, big thanks to them for doing what they do so I can create a podcast. And hopefully, you guys learned something from this. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for listening.